Okay, we're going to do a pre-trip inspection of a school bus. First thing I would look at would be to look underneath the bus, make sure that there's no puddles, nothing dripping from the bus, nothing indicating that anything would be leaking. Also, I'm going to look and make sure the bus is not leaning to one side or the other, something that might indicate a flat tire or a broken leaf spring. Next, I'm going to look at all my lights. I would pretend all my lights are on. I'm going to look at my clearance lights, my red warning lights, my yellow warning lights, my turn signals, park lights, headlights. What I'm looking for is to make sure that they're all working. They are have no cracked or broken lenses and are free of anything that would obstruct your view. I'm going to look at all my mirrors on the outside, make sure that they're all mounted securely, adjusted properly, and no cracks in them. Front windshield has no cracks in it. It is free of any chips or anything that would obstruct your view. Your windshield wipers are mounted securely, have good blades on them, and they are working properly. Our front bumper is mounted securely. Our crossing gate mounted securely, and it is working properly. At this point, we will open the hood. Starting over here on the right side, the first thing that I'm going to look at would be my water pump. What I'm looking for is making sure that it's mounted securely and is not leaking. All the hoses going to and from the water pump are also not leaking. Look at my alternator. It is mounted securely, working properly. All my wires going to and from the alternator are mounted securely. They are not frayed or any bare wires. My belt, I'm looking at it to make sure that it is not frayed or cracked, is in good condition, and proper adjustment. And proper adjustment for the belt would be up to 3/4 of an inch of give in the center of the belt. And as you can see, it is properly adjusted. Our windshield washer fluid is, the bottle is mounted securely, filled properly, and not leaking. We go to our suspension system. Here we have our shock absorber. It is mounted securely and has no damage to it, and it is not leaking. Have our leaf springs. They are mounted securely and no cracked, broken, or shifted leaf springs. Our leaf spring brackets also are mounted securely to the frame, and they are not cracked or broken. Our U-bolts are tightened properly and not cracked or broken. We go into our braking system. We have our brake lines, air lines. They are mounted securely, no cracked, frayed, or broken air lines, and are not leaking, as well as the fittings. We have our brake chamber. It's mounted securely, not dented or cracked, and it is not leaking. We have our slack adjuster. Slack adjuster is mounted securely and working properly and adjusted properly. Proper adjustment would be no more than 1 inch of travel with the brakes applied. We have our front brakes, which you would be able to see through this access hole right here. Have adequate lining on our front brakes, which would be at least 1/4 of an inch. Our brake drum, it is in good condition, is not cracked or broken, also has no heat check marks in it. We move on to our tire. We have at least 4 30-seconds tread depth on our front tire. It is wearing evenly and has no gouges or cuts in it, and it's not damaged. It is inflated properly. Proper inflation you would check with a gauge or a rubber mallet. We have our rim. It is not cracked, broken, or been welded on. Lug nuts, all of our lug nuts are present. They are all tight, and you should not see rust trails. Rust trails would indicate loose lug nuts. Our front axle hub oil seal or grease seal is tight and not leaking. We move around to the left front side of the bus. Here we start with our coolant. Our coolant tank is mounted securely and is filled properly. Here you see coolant in the top eye, indicating we have adequate coolant level. All of our hoses going to and from the tank are not leaking, in good condition. We have our oil fill level here. It is filled to the proper level. Transmission fluid level here. It is filled to the proper level. We have our air compressor. It is mounted securely, working properly, and is not leaking. Our air compressor is gear driven. Underneath the air compressor, we have our power steering pump. Power steering pump is mounted securely, working properly, also is not leaking, and it also is gear driven. All of our lines going to the power steering pump up here to the power steering fluid reservoir are in good condition, not leaking, as well as the power steering reservoir here. Fluid is filled to the proper level. Come to our steering gearbox. It's mounted securely and is not leaking. Everything working properly. All of our steering parts here, our pitman arm, drag link, and tie rod ends on both left and right side. They are all mounted securely, no slack in them. Castle nuts are in place and tight, as well as cotter keys are in place. We move to our suspension. We have our shock absorber. It is mounted securely, is not damaged, and it's not leaking. Leaf springs, no cracked, broken, or shifted leaf springs, as well as leaf spring brackets are not broken or cracked, and our U-bolts are tight and not cracked or broken. Our air lines we have air lines not cracked, broken, or frayed. They are not leaking, as well as the fittings. Our brake chamber mounted securely here, not dented or cracked, and is not leaking. Slack adjuster, it is mounted securely, working properly and properly adjusted. Proper adjustment for front slack adjuster would be no more than 1 inch of travel with the brakes applied. Our front brakes, we have adequate lining on our front brakes, which would be at least 1/4 of an inch. Our brake drum is in good condition, not cracked or broken, and no heat check marks in it. We have our front tire. It is has at least 4 30-seconds tread depth on it, is in good condition, wearing evenly, and is inflated properly. Proper inflation would be checked with a gauge or a rubber mallet. We have our rim. It's not bent, cracked, or been welded on. All of our lug nuts are in place and tight. If not, you would see rust trails in them. Our hub oil seal or grease seal is mounted securely and is not leaking. Our right side of the bus, again, we would check our mirror, mounted securely and not cracked or broken. Move on to our electrical panel. We have all of our wires and everything are in good condition inside of our electrical panel. All the fuses and everything are in good condition. You would also have spare electrical fuses as part of your emergency equipment. Our stop sign, it is mounted securely to the side of the bus, and it also is working properly. We have our battery box. It is all of our batteries are mounted securely, terminals are tightened properly, and we have no corrosion on the terminals, as well as all the wires are in good condition and not frayed or bare. Down the left side of the bus, what we're looking at, we'll look at our clearance lights, make sure that there are no broken or cracked lenses. Look at all of our windows, making sure they're not broken or cracked and free of anything that would obstruct your view. Down the side of our bus, we also have 3 reflectors. What we're looking for is make sure they're in place and they are visible. We will look underneath the bus. What we're looking at first would be our air tanks. They are mounted securely, drained daily, and no damage to them and are not leaking. Our air dryer, it is mounted securely, working properly, and also all the air lines have no leak going to and from the tanks and dryer. We look at our drive shaft. All the U-joints and the drive shaft appear to be in good working order, and also our drive shaft loops are in place. Our exhaust system, going from the front all the way to the rear of the bus, it is in good condition. Exhaust hangers are mounted securely and exhaust has no leaks. We will look at our frame. Our frame is in good condition, not bent, cracked, or been welded on, or holes drilled in it. And from here we'll go to the back of the bus. We will start out with our brake system. Start with our brake lines. They are all in good condition, not frayed, cracked, or leaking. Move on to our brake chamber. It is mounted securely, not dented, cracked, broken, and is also not leaking. Our slack adjuster, which you can see on the other side behind the brake chamber, it is mounted securely, working properly and adjusted properly. Proper adjustment for rear slack adjuster would be around 90 degrees with the brake applied. Our rear brakes, we have adequate lining on our rear brakes, which would be at least 1/4 of an inch. Our rear brake drum, it is in good condition, not cracked or broken, and also has no heat check marks in it. We have our leaf springs, no broken, cracked, or shifted leaf springs. Brackets are in good condition, mounted securely. Also, our U-bolts are tight and not cracked or broken. We move to our rear tires. Have at least 2 30-seconds tread depth on our rear tires. They're wearing evenly, no cuts or gouges out of the tires, and no damage to them. Have adequate spacing between my tires. This bus does not have any spacers, but there is adequate spacing between the tires. Both of our tires are inflated properly, checked with a gauge or rubber mallet. We come out to our rims. Our rims, both on the inside and the outside tire, are not bent, cracked, or been welded on, are in good condition. All of our lug nuts are in place. They are tight. If not, you would see rust trails in them. And our rear axle seal is tightened properly and no leaks. Behind the rear axle, we have mud flaps, if they are present, are in good condition, mounted securely. We have our rear shocks. They are mounted securely, not damaged and not leaking. We have up above the rear axle, we have our torsion bar. It is mounted securely and is in good condition, not damaged. We have our airbags. They are mounted securely, no frayed or cracked airbags, and they are not leaking. I'll go ahead and mention our fuel tank cage since I'm underneath here. It is mounted securely and is not cracked or broken or damaged in any way. Again, we're looking at our reflectors on the side of the bus as we walk around. Come to the rear of the bus. I'll look at all my lights, my clearance lights, red warning lights, my yellow warning lights, my turn signals, my stop, brake lights, and tail lights, and reverse lights. What I'm looking for is to make sure that they are all working properly, no cracked or broken lenses, and they're free of anything that would obstruct your view. The rear glass on the back of the bus, all those are free from any cracks or chips. Our rear bumper is in good condition, not cracked, broken, or been welded on. Our exhaust pipe has no damage to it, and it's mounted securely. Our rear door, it works properly, and inside here we'll have a rear fire extinguisher. It is mounted securely and is charged properly. We come to the right side of the bus. What we're looking at on this side of the bus is we're looking again at our clearance lights, making sure they're working, no broken or cracked lenses. We're looking at our side windows, making sure that they are all free from any cracks or chips, free from anything that would obstruct your view. We're also looking at our side reflectors, making sure that they are all present and visible. And we will look at our fuel tank. Fuel tank is in good condition, mounted securely and not leaking. Fuel cap is tight and not leaking. as well as the fuel tank cage that I mentioned just a minute ago. It is in good condition and is not broken or cracked. The right rear side of the bus, come to our mud flaps again, is mounted securely and not damaged, is in good condition. Our shock on the right side would be in good condition, not damaged and not leaking. Our airbag, not cracked or frayed, and it's not leaking. No broken or cracked or shifted leaf springs on the right side, and our leaf spring brackets and hangers would all be mounted securely, as well as our U-bolts would be tight. Come to our brake system. Again, our brake lines, we would have no cracked or frayed brake lines. They are all in good condition and are not leaking, as well as the fittings. We have our brake chamber. It is mounted securely, no dents or cracks, and it is working properly. Our slack adjuster, as you can see behind the brake chamber, is working properly, mounted securely, and is also adjusted properly. Proper adjustment would be around 90 degrees with the brakes applied on the rear. We have adequate brake lining on our rear brakes, which would be at least 1/4 of an inch. We have our brake drum is in good condition, not cracked or broken, and does not have heat check marks in it. We have our rear tires. We have at least 2 30-seconds tread depth on our rear tires. They're wearing evenly. They have no cuts or gouges or damage to them. Have adequate spacing between my tires, and also they're inflated properly, checked with a gauge or rubber mallet. Our rims, they are not bent, cracked, or been welded on. Lug nuts are all in place, are all tight. If not, you would see rust trails in them. Our rear axle seal is tightened properly and is not leaking. Along the right side of the bus, again, we would check our mirror, making sure that it's mounted securely, not cracked or broken. And at this point, we would close the hood. We come to the entrance of the bus. We'll check our entry door, making sure that it's working properly and secured properly. Our step well is free from anything that would obstruct entering the bus. Step well light is working properly. Our handrail is mounted securely and is not cracked or broken. Come into the bus, we have our front fire extinguisher. It is mounted securely, charged properly, as well as we have our box that contains our reflective triangles, and you would also have spare electrical fuses. We have our first aid kit and our body fluid cleanup kit. Both of these are adequately supplied and are present. At this time, we will turn the key on. We will begin walking back through the bus, checking the seats as we walk back, making sure that they are all mounted securely to the floor and that all the cushions are mounted securely to the seat frames. We will check our emergency exits. We have our roof hatch here. We will push it open to the vent position, turn to exit, and open it. And the buzzer is sounding, letting me know that the exit is open and it is working. We will check our side exit windows, opening the exit windows. The buzzer is sounding, letting me know that the exit windows are working. Again, the left side window works properly and buzzer sounding. Checking our seats as we go back. Our rear roof hatch, we'll open it up. Buzzer is sounding, letting me know that that is working properly and the exit seems to be working properly. Our rear door, we will open it, Rear doors working properly as well as buzzer sounding. And again, our rear fire extinguisher is under the seat, mounted properly and charged properly. We will come back up to the driver's seat, sit in the seat, and at this time we'll put on our seat belt. And you're inspecting the seat belt as well. You're making sure that it is not frayed, is not ripped, and is in good condition, as well as you're making sure the seat belt latches properly and does not come unlatched. We will now begin the air brake portion of the test. With my wheels chalked, I would release the park brake. With the parking brake released, I would not lose more than 2 psi per minute on my air gauges. I will then apply full service brake pressure, and I would not lose more than 3 psi per minute with full service brake applied. I will then begin pumping the brakes down. Around 60 psi, your warning light and buzzer should sound. As it just came on. I will continue pumping the brakes down somewhere between 40 and 20 psi. Our emergency or our park brake should apply by itself, as it just did. I will now start the engine. Now our air pressure should be building. I'll check the rest of our gauges. Our volts are in the normal operating range. I have adequate fuel supply. Our transmission temperature is in the normal range. Coolant temperature is in the normal range, as well as our oil pressure is in the normal range. We'll now check our indicators. Our four-way hazard indicators and lights are working. Also check my left turn indicator and light is working. Right turn indicator and our right turn light is working. We will now move to our red and yellow lights. The door is closed. I'll activate the master switch and activate the yellow warning lights. As you can see, the yellow warning lights are working, as well as my warning light indicator. We'll open the door, changing the yellows to red. As you can see, our red warning lights are working, as well as the crossing gate and stop sign. And also my indicator on the dash is working. I'll then move through my switches. The red override, turning the red lights on again, is working. Cross gate cancel is working. Noise suppressor is working. We have our strobe light indicator is working. Also the light on top of the bus is working. Our activity light, driver dome and dome lights. We have our driver dome is working. Our activity light in the back of the bus is working. And the rest of our dome lights are working as well. We have our heated mirrors. Those are working. Our rear heater works properly, high and low. Our defroster fan works properly, high and low. Stepwell heater working properly on low and high, as well as driver heater working properly on low and high. Both of our defroster fans working properly on low and high. We come to our windshield wipers. They are in good condition. The blades are in good condition. They are working properly on intermittent, low and high. Pushing the button showing that our washer wiper is also working. I'll turn our headlights on. Our headlights are working outside and all the dash lights are working inside, as well as our high beam indicator is working, as well as the high beams on the outside. Come to our steering wheel. We have no more than 2 inches of play in a 20-inch wheel. Our horn is working. We also come to our gear shift. Our gear shift works properly through all the gears. We will now put the bus in gear with the park brake applied, putting pressure against the park brake. The bus did not move, showing that the parking brake is working. We'll now release the park brake, letting the bus roll forward.